This episode of FuelSpill TV is sitting in comfort and style, thanks to Furniture Art. Welcome back to FuelSpill TV, your gas and go racing show. I'm Charlie the Intern, back from the Smash Beer Oktoberfest Nationals at the Bent Twig Raceway in Times Beach, Missouri, where the FARC Low Dollar Series, FARC Larry Lemon Super Series Late Models, and the FARC Truck Series have all converged to decide their champions. But before we get to the festivities, I have some corrections to make. In our previous FARC coverage, I stated the following about the championship rules for the finale. It may not look like much, but the best of 5 rule used in the Truck Series is going to make Hiram Jennings' job difficult if he wants this championship. And Taylor Brillin leads by 10 points over Bobby Porteau, and according to the math, she has locked up the FARC Super Series Championship. Under the best of 7 rule that the series has in place, there is no way that Bobby Porteau is going to be able to make up those points in the finale. And with the Oktoberfest Nationals at Bent Twig being double points for the Low Dollar Series, this should be a fun fight to watch, but don't forget about those drivers a little further back. Despite what I thought my copy of the rulebook said, FARC would not be doing the drop scores or double points for any of the 3 series this weekend. Whatever points the drivers score, they will keep. And while I am sorry I got all this horribly wrong, I will admit this does make the championship easier to follow because I've got enough on my plate as it is. Moving on, the FARC Truck Series would kick things off this weekend, where Eddie Vero and Hiram Jennings are the main players for the championship. They are separated by 4 points. However, Ricky Freeman and Buddy McInnes, coming off of his second win of the season at Rockford, are knocking on the door as well, just waiting for something to happen to the top 2. Let's go trackside at the Bent Twig Raceway for the highlights. Eddie Vero and Hiram Jennings would end up sweeping the front row, but if you'll look behind them, Ricky Freeman and Buddy McInnes are still safely starting up inside the top 10. 40 laps to decide the FARC Truck Series Championship, and these V6 trucks come barreling into the first couple of corners, an S-curve that the track uses to call itself the world's smallest road course. Coming onto the backstretch, down the hill into turn 4, Hiram Jennings has the lead, but Eddie Vero can finish second behind Jennings and still claim the championship by 2 points. But I don't think Vero's content to just ride around. Meanwhile, Buddy McInnes spins off the front bumper of Ricky Freeman at the end of the first lap, has some other contact with the 71 of Colin McNaught, and that brings out the first caution right away. Alex Phillips blows up under caution. He'll be in the Low Dollar Series race later this weekend. He'll have to wait to get the seat time he needs. Meanwhile, Hiram Jennings continues to lead on the restart, but Eddie Vero dives it into the first corner. Allison Smith in the 427 right behind them. Vero trying to hang on around the inside. Hiram Jennings in the 326 very strong around the outside of turn 3 on the first lap, but Vero's hanging on. Smith briefly made it 3 wide between them. Vero still has a nose ahead. Coming to the end of the lap, Jennings gives him the boot off of turn 4, and that kills his momentum. Hiram Jennings making a strong charge for this championship. In the last few weeks, he won at Berlin, and he's obviously willing to do what it takes, even if he has to put the bumper to Eddie Vero. These two still neck and neck, Smith looking on. Eddie Vero has had a lot of fun in the FARC Truck Series the past few seasons. He got his first win in 2018 in controversial fashion, causing a pretty large wreck at Flat Rock, but the crew chief for M&J Racing has shown himself to be a real contender. Buddy McInnes was making up ground, but his race has fallen apart right away. He spins again after contact with the 94 of Alex DeFranco. McInnes would have liked to bookend the season with the championship after taking the opener at 70-77, but that is looking increasingly unlikely. Hiram Jennings coming after Eddie Vero on the restart now. Allison Smith still sitting in third. Michael McKinley in fourth. 2017 champion is coming off of a pair of DNFs and would just like a good finish to close out the season. Meanwhile, Hiram Jennings can't get it done. Eddie Vero keeps the lead. Jennings was very strong to start this race, but now Eddie Vero looks like he's gotten a handle on how to drive this track, and he's holding him off. Buddy McInnes, after 2 spins, clawing his way back through the field once again. Ricky Freeman also has fallen back, and he's trying to follow that 50 truck. I think at this point, McInnes is just hoping to not have any more trouble. The trouble would come to the Dale Clow number 0 truck driven by Flip Papadopoulos. He spins off the bumper of Colin McNaught into that guardrail and turn in the S-curve. Derek Dunning going for a slide, hitting the brakes. Dale Clow, the owner of the 006, also hits the wall after the restart, draws yet another caution. All these restarts are the last thing Eddie Vera wants to see. He's got to hold off Hiram Jennings once again. It's going to be 6 laps to go on this restart here, and he gets a great launch. Hiram Jennings just doesn't get going. Allison Smith all over his back bumper, as Eddie Vera has at least 2 car lengths in between him and Jennings. Eddie Vera was never a driver up until a few years ago. He was bit by the racing bug, joined forces with Focus Autosports, and today he delivers them the victory and the championship in the FARC Truck Series. Hiram Jennings made a valiant effort in these last few weeks to try to catch Vero, but Eddie Vera is going to go to victory lane to celebrate his first championship and the very first championship for Focus Autosports in FARC competition. But he won't have too long to celebrate. He's got to go back over to M&J Racing to help prepare Tyler Faber's car for the low dollar series race. Allison Smith finished 3rd. That's pretty much where she was running the whole race, so great job to her for keeping it in the top 5 after starting 4th. Michael McKinley ends the season with his 3rd top 5 of the year. He also has a pair of 2nd place finishes. A welcome change from the last couple of weeks where he failed to finish. Kyle Pike rounds out the top 5. Casper Spector, 6th in the Grime Reaper truck. Buddy McInnes was hoping to contend for a championship, but he just ran into too much trouble. Still rallied back to finish 7th. Tommy Winovich, his teammate with Lowell Beaver Racing, finishing right behind him. Jack Radcliffe and Lou Kirk round out the top 10. And now a look at the final standings. Eddie Vera, once again, the FARC Truck Series champion. First time for him and Focus Autosports. Big celebration down in victory lane for them. Vero won the title by 6 points over Hiram Jennings. Buddy McInnes, Ricky Freeman Jr., and Tommy Winovich round up the top 5. Great job for the Lowell Beaver team to get their 2 full-time trucks up in the top 5. Michael McKinley, 6th, just 2 points out of the top 5. And then it's a 22-point gap back to the tie between Alex Phillips and Jack Radcliffe. Phillips wins the tiebreaker with his victory all the way back in round 2 in Madison, Wisconsin. And then Colin McNaught and Kyle Pike round out the top 10, just 1 point separating those 2. After the trucks and the confetti were cleared from the track, it was now time to settle the FARC Larry Lemon Super Series Championship. Taylor Brillin leads by 10 points, going for her first FARC championship and trying to snuff out Bobby Porteau's dominance of the series. But it's not going to take much for Bobby Porteau to earn his 3rd straight championship. But don't count out Isaac Leitner for Gravity Racing, sitting just 16 points out of the lead in 3rd place, riding high from his victory at Rockford, his 3rd of the season, sharing that distinction with Matt Pearson and Ben Worthington as the winningest drivers this season in the Super Series. All 3 of the main players for the championship are veterans of FARC Racing. Bobby Porteau and Taylor Brillin have both won races in the FARC Low Dollar Series. Porteau even has a championship there with M&J Racing. And Leitner has been in Gravity Racing's stable for a very long time, even though he is just 28. Whose experience will provide the biggest payoff? Let's go to the track for the highlights. Matt Pearson set the fast time in qualifying, but rolled a 2 on the inversion die for the start, placing him 4th and putting Hamilton Porteau in car 42 up front for the start. He's got Ralph West to his outside, Tyler Faber in row 2 sitting behind him. Green flag is out for 60 laps here at Bent Twig. It's a drag race into the S between the younger West and the elder Porteau. Bobby Porteau spins behind them. The yellow is out already for Bobby Porteau, spinning in the S. Ralph West takes the lead around the outside. Coming onto the backstretch, Tyler Faber running 3rd, and it was Taylor Brillin going 3 wide into the first corner with Bobby Porteau. And Porteau's got a bit of damage from contact with the 24 of Upton Downs. There's Alfred Jones going around in this mess, but it looks like Taylor Brillin had her championship rival starting right ahead of her, and she just decided she's got to pass him right away. Taylor Brillin, showing no patience whatsoever, is given a penalty. She'll have to start in the back for the restart. But the Porteau brothers crew in the infield is absolutely furious. Officials are trying to keep them separated from the Arnold Pine team. But what a start to this championship race. Bobby Porteau hoping that the damage won't be too bad. Meanwhile, Ralph West leads on the restart. Hamilton Porteau right behind him. You saw West get a really good start around the outside of Porteau to take the lead. Ben Worthington makes a move on Matt Pearson, who dips off the track coming onto the backstretch, but he's got a problem. Flat tire for the 38 is going to have to send Ben Worthington into the pits, and just a few laps later, his engine explodes. That's the end of the race for Ben Worthington, who has 3 victories this season. Taylor Brillin is clawing her way back up through the field, and Bobby Porteau's off the pace. That damage is really hurting the 15 car. Not much of a penalty at all for Taylor Brillin, as she gets by him really easily and is going to get to work on clawing through the rest of the field. Meanwhile, Isaac Leitner sits in 9th. That's not the pace that won him 3 races this season, but he is ahead of his championship rivals right now and is hoping it stays that way. But that's going to be hard with Taylor Brillin coming back up through the field as quickly as she is. Ralph West has caught the lapped cars of Monica Rook and Samantha Mason. He's going to send Monica Rook into the wall, out of the final corner. She keeps it straight, but that car is trashed, and Monica Rook has had an absolute nightmare of a season. That's going to do her in. Ralph West could have showed a lot more patience, but he's already lost a race to other cars getting in his way. Remember Oswego? He braked for an accident coming to the finish line and was snookered by Isaac Leitner. Meanwhile, AJ Young gets out of shape, and he's going to draw a caution. Mechanical problems now for Taylor Brillin. She brings her car to the Arnold Pine crew, but she's going to lose a lap and all the ground that she made up after that penalty. Looks like maybe the racing gods had decided that she wasn't punished enough. Huge disaster for the 9. She restarts a lap down. Andy Pearson going 3 wide with her and Tyler Faber, who will be in the low dollar series race. Andy Pearson with his son Matt running right behind him now. 62 years old, still having a lot of fun showing up to these Super Series races. Kenny George is going to get sent hard into the wall after contact with AJ Young. Another caution involving AJ Young just past the halfway point. Damian Josel and Sean Griswold go spinning as well. Coming to the caution flag, 3 wide with Tyler Faber, Isaac Leitner, and Billy Bob Childers is going to send the 71 spinning. Some contact with the 24 of Upton Downs and the 31 of Aubrey Wood. Isaac Leitner trying to capitalize on the trouble between Bobby Porteau and Taylor Brillin. That's not going to do him any favors, but he drives on, unlike Tyler Faber, who breaks down coming to the restart. Oh, look out! Damian Josel just drills the back of that 89 car. And the caution comes out once again. Ralph West is still the leader. Taylor Brillin trying to get her lap back. She dives under the 87, but can't get it done. At least she doesn't make contact with him. Ralph West has led every lap so far ever since getting the jump on Hamilton Porteau around the outside. Lap number 1, Andy Pearson still running in second. Isaac Leitner gets himself into trouble again, also with Billy Bob Childers, and that's a small pile-up exiting turn 5. Upton Downs involved in yet another crash, but Isaac Leitner gets to drive away again with minimal damage. He's really testing his luck as he tries to win this championship. But Bobby Porteau and Taylor Brillin still well behind him. Ralph West leading once again. Andy Pearson trying to get around the lap to number 9. That's going to be Hamilton Porteau back to 3rd. Matt Pearson rounding out the top 4 right now. Ralph West trying to win his first race of the season. As I mentioned earlier, he almost got it at Oswego, but an accident in front of him benefited this guy right here, Isaac Leitner, who's clawing his way through the field again. Running in 10th right now, he's got Rich Roy in the 777 behind him. The 11 of Tim Burkhalter running up in 12th. Ooh, a little bit of contact between him and Jim Kidd. Ralph West has been bouncing around the FARC ranks a lot, trying to find a stable ride, but he ends the year on a high note, capturing the victory at Bent Twig. Second win of the season for his father's team, Wild West Racing. And Isaac Leitner is going to come across the line 10th, but is good enough to claim the FARC Super Series Championship and the very first championship in FARC competition for Gravity Racing. 2019 is Gravity Racing's 10th year anniversary in FARC, and they cap it off with the championship. They could do it again in the low dollar series race with Hunter Blaze. Meanwhile, Ralph West celebrates his victory over Andy Pearson, who's gotten his 4th top 5 in just 8 races this season. He's scaled back his racing in the Super Series, but the man who's been racing in FARC since 1978 is obviously still a contender. Hamilton Porteau takes 3rd place. Zidane Quackenbush and Melanie Menendez got around Matt Pearson to round out the top 5. Billy Bob Childers finishes in 7th despite all the trouble he ran into. Upton Downs, top 10 for him as well, despite his troubles. Daryl Quick is 9th, and your champion, Isaac Leitner, just squeaks into the top 10. But again, that was good enough to claim the championship by just 2 points over Bobby Porteau. Porteau drove his wounded car to a 14th place finish. Just 2 more spots and he would have been champion for a 3rd straight year, but it wasn't meant to be after Taylor Brillin basically cleaned him out in turn 1. Race winner Ralph West moves up into 3rd place, 2 points over Taylor Brillin, who drops to 4th after entering this race in the lead. Now, before we move on, there was apparently a very frightening incident. I wasn't there to see it. I was talking to Ralph West at the time, but while the Brillins and the Arnold Pine crew were loading up the 9 car after the race, they were confronted by a disgruntled and apparently intoxicated Junior Porteau. The father of Bobby and Hamilton Porteau was sitting in the stands. He's not involved with their team, but he was shouting at them about the lap 1 wreck and either drew a gun or showed he had one on him. But after a few minutes of this standoff, the Porteau brothers arrived to talk their father down. In the meantime, several witnesses had alerted track staff and the police. All that I know right now is Junior Porteau was taken from the track in a squad car. I'm not sure what's going to become of this yet, but I would expect and hope that FARC takes this very seriously. Neither the Brillins nor the Porteaus have, said anything on the matter yet, but we'll update you as more develops. After cooler heads prevailed in the wake of the late model race, it was now time to put a period on the FARC season with the low dollar series finale. Michaela Perry-Jones, in a breakout year for Durban Sport Racing, leads over Gravity Racing's Hunter Blaze by 30 points coming into this race, and coming off of 2 victories in a row. Billy Ray Smith-Thompson, Taylor Matthews, and Mario Adachi all have an outside shot at the title as well. However, Billy Ray Smith-Thompson initially failed to qualify in his number 42 Andy Pearson racing car. He timed his way into the 36th spot in a race with only 32 cars, and he did not get a wildcard spot, while his teammate in the flagship number 2, Nicholas Radcliffe, timed in 17th. However, the team, the number 2 primary sponsor and race sponsor, Smash Beer, decided to put Billy Ray into the 2 car so he could race for a 2nd championship in what will likely be his final FARC start. The 47-year-old will be retiring from FARC and returning to sprint car racing in the Southeast. This was a very controversial decision, as Nicholas Radcliffe is from Missouri, and he certainly has some hometown fans here. I don't know what the future holds for Radcliffe. He was a standout in the FARC Truck Series last year. He finished 2nd in points with 2 victories to the late Archer Helms. But unfortunately, he has not been performing as expected in the iconic Pearson number 2. I'm absolutely gutted for him, and I hope he can soldier on. But ultimately, one of them was going home. And for the team, it just makes the most competitive sense to put your championship contender in. But again, Billy Ray Smith-Thompson is a long shot. The championship battle is between Michaela Perry-Jones and Hunter Blaze, unless something happens to both of them. Let's go to the track and settle this fight. Due to the driver change, Billy Ray Smith-Thompson will have to start this race from the back of the field. But just a couple rows ahead of him, rolling off 28th, is Hunter Blaze. He has a lot of work ahead of him after a terrible lap. But none of the championship contenders qualified well. Michaela Perry-Jones starts 14th, Taylor Matthews is 18th, and Mario Adachi is 21st. Rip Tyler is on the pole for the 2nd time this year with Mark on his outside, and the green flag is in the air for the final 120 laps of the season. And Rip Tyler clears Mark going into the S's. Sergei Yakovsky is going to challenge the 03 for second place coming onto the backstretch. But there's already trouble coming out of the S, and the caution is out on lap 1. Incidents at the start of the race are the story of this weekend. Rip Tyler's great launch goes to waste. Here's a look at what happened. Alex Phillips, starting 19th in one of 4 Team Thunder cars this weekend, gets tagged by MJ Bakerman and spun off the bumper of Taylor Matthews. This was the first of 3 separate incidents in this S-curve. That's what happens when you get 32 cars going down into the corner. You saw Hunter Blaze getting through there. Taylor Matthews doesn't have a whole lot of damage. Emmett Newton gets into the 86 of Grant Carson's, and so much for Taylor Matthews not having much damage. She came in and hit the 23 pretty hard, and there you saw the 212 of Timothy Ruiz going off. You saw Taylor Matthews diving into the pits to repair that damage. That's why she's a lap down already on the restart. But she's fighting back already, staying side by side with Rip Tyler through the S and lunging under him out of turn 3. Meanwhile, here comes Skeeter Farnsworth trying to take second from Sergei Akovsky, but we've got another caution already. And Taylor Matthews is not going to get her lap back this time. Michaela Perry-Jones gets into the back of Rip Forrest, and they go hard into that wall. Heavy damage to the 93 car. MPJ, after such a successful season, has taken herself out of the race on lap 7. She came into this race 30 points ahead of Hunter Blaze. That is barely a cushion. But that wasn't all that happened on this lap. Mark got into the back of Emmett Newton. He had to restart in the back after pitting under the first caution. And that takes Emmett Newton out of the race after an eventful opening few laps. But just like in the late model race, with what we saw between Taylor Brillen and Bobby Porteau, patience was the name of the game for points leader MPJ. And she has certainly just thrown it all away. With 4 victories, she obviously had the speed. Hunter Blaze in the number 71 for Gravity Racing has certainly just been told what happened to his championship rival, and he's already made up a ton of ground. He's up to 15th on lap 10 here. Billy Ray Smith-Thompson, just a couple spots behind Hunter Blaze. The margin between them was the same as the margin between the 93 and the 71, but Hunter Blaze is in a very good position right now if he can drive a smart race. Meanwhile, Carrie Fenton has to pit with a flat coming to the restart. She was running in 9th. Sergei Akovsky fights back against Skeeter Farnsworth, taking back second at the moment. The lapped car of Taylor Matthews sits in between him and race leader Rip Tyler. He hasn't given up the lead once so far. Mike Malone in the 5 sits third right now, and behind him is Christopher Holter in the 3 for Salvation Racing. A very, very good qualifying effort and run for that team so far. 4 wide coming through the S's. Oh, that's not going to work out. That's Mario Adachi, championship contender on the outside, and Bob Steffens in the 77 for Team Thunder, substituting for the injured Daniel Sharp, but everyone drives away. We'll talk more about Steffens' return to FARC as we get the chance, but shortly after the restart, Harry Asanola gets together with Rick Forrest and almost goes upside down, drawing yet another caution. Knuckles Malone is starting off strong in his final race as a full-time FARC driver. He'll focus on starting up an ASCC West team next year, but right now he's taking second from Skeeter Farnsworth after starting in the 7th spot, with a little help from the lapped car of Taylor Matthews. Matthews falling back, not making up the ground that she wanted. But further back, Rick Forrest slaps the wall right in front of Mario Adachi, and that's heavy damage for Tyler Faber in the M&J car. Tyler Faber has absolutely not ended the season the way he wanted between the Super Series race and today. Tyler Faber, the latest casualty of these chaotic opening laps. We're not sure what he's doing next year, but he did get M&J their latest victory in the 2nd round at Sayre Speedway. Hunter Blaze continues his charge through the field as he tries to get Gravity Racing their 2nd championship in the same weekend. He's threatening Dwayne Ridman in the Team Timothy 68 car for the 5th spot now, and it looks like he's going to get it done coming out of the backstretch. He split the lapped car of Rick Forrest in between himself and Ridman. Risky move considering that Rick Forrest has been a pinball all day. And just in front of him, Sergei Akovsky is going to tag The three of Christopher Holter put him into the wall, and he cleans out Hunter Blaze and Durain Ridman as well. Heavy damage to the front end of the 68. Hunter Blaze is going to keep going without too many issues, but that was a huge impact to the wall for the three of Christopher Holter, and he's limping it back to the pits. Flashbacks to the late model race for the Gravity Racing crew as Hunter Blaze goes around. And several other cars are going to spin behind them in this stack-up, but Hunter Blaze is going to get back on the throttle. He's not going to lose too many positions because of that great recovery and because of the big mess behind him. But that's a real bad deal for Christopher Holter after a great start. I was talking to him a bit before the race. Got some tense vibes at the Salvation Racing team. He doesn't know what he's doing next year. I don't know if that team's coming back. Christopher Holter didn't give me any details, but he said this might be his last race for some time, and his father, Ronnie Holter, brushed me off when I asked him what was going on. He's still in the race, but with a very wounded car at this point. But that wreck has turned the battle in the top 5 upside down. Grant Carson's had 4th on the restart, but he saw Bob Steffens blast around him on the outside, coming onto the backstretch. Oh, and he's going to get checked into the wall by a couple of lap cars. Another big pileup coming out of the final corner. And this day just gets worse for the Durban team, with Grant Carson's having some pretty heavy damage now. He's going to keep going as we take a look further back at Billy Ray Smith-Thompson, who got a huge piece of this. That's Ben McClellan piling into his right side. And that's some heavy damage to Billy Ray as he tries to get away. Oh no, he's going to make contact with Patrick Ashcroft and go around again. Really did not need that after this wreck put a huge damper on his championship hopes. Coming back to the yellow, Bob Steffens makes the pass on Mike Malone for 2nd place. He qualified this car 16th in his first FARC start in almost 2 years, but it's almost like he's never left. And this would end up being the pass for the lead as Rip Tyler blows up under caution after leading every lap so far. He was hoping to end the season on a high note after such a miserable season, only soothed by a victory at Cottenham Farms and another pair of 2nd place finishes. But Bob Steffens, now the leader, is going to clear Mike Malone and the lapped car of Taylor Matthews on the restart and try to take off here. He's been running TM Lights and in the Master Cup Independence Trophy the past couple of years. Hasn't made a FARC start since the end of 2017, but the longtime veteran of the series obviously has not forgotten how to drive these cars. Skeeter Farnsworth, trying to deliver Power Surge America a great finish after Rip Tyler dropped out, is going to take 3rd from Sergei Yakovsky as Anthony Griffith goes around in the S once again. Christopher Holter's involved, and Billy Ray Smith-Thompson gets tagged by Grant Carson's. Those two go for a spin, and Billy Ray had just gotten back into the top 10 too. His day sure is falling apart in a hurry. The initial contact was between Anthony Griffith and Aaron Coultier, and it looks like Griffith is going after the 13. He sends Coultier around, but he's going to get caught behind the 45 of Harry Espinola. Oh, there goes the 2 of Billy Ray spinning around once again. That's going to be another immediate yellow as we finally approach the halfway point. Billy Ray Smith-Thompson had a great start, charging up through the field, sticking with Hunter Blaze after being put into the 2 car. But he's getting wrecked left and right now as Rick Forrest gets out of shape once again and catches Dalton Carter in this one in the Mason Yokoyama car. And there's Anthony Griffith off in the grass. That wreck is going to finish off the 7. And Team Thunder's flagship car is done as Bob Steffens leads on the restart, gets a great jump over Mike Malone. I'm surprised there wasn't a big stack up there as Malone was caught sleeping. Bob Steffens, Team Thunder's best chance to win a race this season right now. They've been very close, but nonetheless have gone winless. Skeeter Farnsworth coming back after Mike Malone, but they've got a couple lapped cars to deal with. Phyllis Theodore in the 74 and Taylor Matthews in the 61. And he's being hounded right now by Sergei Yakovsky and Alex Phillips in the 70. Phillips doing a great job in one of the one-offs for Team Thunder. Makes you wonder what he could be doing had he managed to complete more than 2 laps in the Truck Series race. But Phillips is going to be challenged by Hunter Blaze right now. Hunter Blaze is one of the cleanest cars on track right now. He's only been in 1 wreck. This is going to be for the 5th spot against Alex Phillips. Blaze had it at the line, so technically he's trying to hold off the 70, and he's going to slide right in front of him make just a little bit of contact with him as the field takes another yellow, and it's Billy Ray once again getting together with the 3 of Christopher Holter, and that's a very hard impact with the wall on the inside. That will take them both out. And that will be an unceremonious end to Billy Ray Smith-Thompson's FARC career as Derain Ridman goes around in a stack up on the restart, and Aaron Coultier piles into the back of Grant Carson's. Aaron Coultier was hoping his troubles would end after his get-together with Anthony Griffith, but there would be more to come, and he is going to call it a day after that. Bob Steffens must be getting sick of all these restarts, but he's getting the job done every time, pulling away from Mike Malone. He got a great run on the backstretch, pulling away by several car lengths, coming around to complete another lap, hoping this effort won't be wasted, but of course it will be. Rick Forrest gets into the back of Mauro Adachi. That's not the first time they've gotten together today. And further up the track as they try to get away from this, Lucas Fabian is going to put Forrest and Chuck Johnson into the wall. Grant Carsons gets a big piece of that as well. Chuck Johnson taking time from his Master Cup schedule to come run this race for Cat Motorsports, the team he won the championship with in 2016, but he might be regretting that today. It's going to be 25 laps to go. Next time by, Hunter Blaze on the attack, trying to grab third place from Skeeter Farnsworth. He might be trying to come after the 5 for second. That's Taylor Matthews, still off the lead lap. She's not a threat to Hunter Blaze. But Alex Phillips is going to go into the inside wall off the final corner after some contact with the 24. Hunter Blaze running 3 wide with Malone and the lapped car. Hunter Blaze can honestly afford to back it down and just coast to this point, but good luck telling a race car driver to back off, especially a young driver such as Hunter Blaze, who's so agonizingly close to bringing home a championship as he is. But it looks like he might be getting the message. Well, not really. He just made some contact with the 5. He's going to run Mike Malone off the road, coming onto the backstretch briefly 4 wide with Sergei Yakovsky and Skeeter Farnsworth. But Hunter Blaze now in second place. Bob Steffens very far up the road. 2 lapped cars in between him and the 77. Skeeter Farnsworth back on the attack. Sergei Yakovsky trying to follow him. Bob Steffens is missing a great battle back here, but I'm sure he's just fine with that. Hunter Blaze is doing a hell of a job holding these guys off. He doesn't really have to, but still, great job from him nonetheless. That's Kenny Myatt going into the wall after some contact with Mauro Adachi, and he's going to bounce off the 68 and the 86, but they'll keep it going, much to the relief of Myatt's teammate, Bob Steffens. Kenny Myatt making his debut for Team Thunder in car number 07, the orange and blue car that Anthony Griffith drove at Oswego back when he was beefing with Kelly Splicin. Kenny Myatt doing a good job in his debut, holding on to 12th place. You just saw Bob Steffens. He has extended his lead to over 4.5 seconds as Mike Malone has faded, and now he got caught off guard by Rick Forrest, bailing for the pits. That's brought Xavier Ruiz in the 212 right up to him, and Malone is in danger of losing the 6th spot. I fucking hate that word 6th, but Mike Malone would sure like to keep it, but he's gonna lose it, as it looks like his car's just given up in the closing laps. But just a couple laps later, Ruiz overdrives turn 5, slaps the wall, and goes around right in front of Ari Espinola. This puts an end to the longest green flag run we've had in this race, and it's gonna set up a 6-lap run to the finish. Bob Steffens is gonna lead on the restart. Hunter Blaze is right behind him. Skeeter Farnsworth 3rd, Alex Phillips 4th, and Sergei Yakovsky rounding out the top 5. Green flag is out, just 6 laps to go in the FARC Low Dollar Series season. Great start for Bob Steffens. Hunter Blaze was caught sleeping, or he's just trying to bring the car home. But that's going to put Blaze right in the clutches of Skeeter Farnsworth. There goes the 24, down to the inside, into turn 5. Alex Phillips running 4th. Little contact. Blaze is in the wall, and Farnsworth secures 2nd. Blaze keeps going, no harm, no foul, but it just shows you what a great job Blaze has done, if that's what it took to unseat him from 2nd place. Bob Steffens takes the white flag. Farnsworth hangs on to 2nd, but he's not going to be able to challenge the 77 without divine intervention. I don't think anyone expected Bob Steffens to be up here when he was called in to replace the injured Daniel Sharp. Team Thunder has not won a race this year. Steffens is making his first FARC start in 2 years, but it could not have worked out more perfectly as Bob Steffens takes the checkered flag, finally putting Team Thunder in victory lane in 2019. Meanwhile, Hunter Blaze is just 20 years old, but he has driven this race like a veteran twice his age, as he picked his way through the field after a bad starting spot and shaken off trouble while his rivals fell apart around him, and that perseverance is going to make him the FARC Low Dollar Series champion for 2019. 10 years ago, Packer Carroll brought his team into FARC racing, and now they've claimed their first 2 championships in 2 days. That team's gonna have a celebration that they're not gonna remember. Skeeter Farnsworth ends the season with a second runner-up finish in a row. Hunter Blaze came all the way from 30th to take the championship by finishing 3rd. He did an excellent job picking his way through the carnage of the opening laps to do so. Alex Phillips also started deep in the field. He came from 22nd to finish 4th to get his first top 5 in the series in his 3rd start. Mike Malone recovered to finish in the top 5 in his final race as a full-time driver. Mark finished 6th after starting on the outside of the front row, and he will wrap up Rookie of the Year honors by doing so. I didn't talk about Riley Durbin much, but he came from 29th to finish 7th. Sergei Yakovsky was up in the top 5 battle for much of the race, but faded to 8th. Kenny Myatt finishes 9th on debut in that battered 07 car, and Grant Carson's in a similarly trashed car rounds out the top 10. And now for the final point standings. Hunter Blaze tops Michaela Perry-Jones by 29 points. That's almost the same margin the other way around coming into this race. But unfortunately, MPJ, with momentum on her side from 2 victories in a row coming into this race, crashed in the opening laps. Likewise, Taylor Matthews never recovered after her incident in the opening laps, but still takes home 3rd in the standings, 11 points over Billy Ray Smith-Thompson. Billy Ray ends his FARC career with 1 championship and contending for 2 more in the past 3 years. Mauro Adachi, the Japanese Super GT driver, finishes 5th in his first full season with Walker Texas Racing. I think Kurt Walker and Jeff Keaton will definitely want him to return. Mark, once again, finishes 6th and takes home Rookie of the Year honors by doing so. Harry Asinola ends his first year as an owner-driver in a very respectable 7th place. Sergei Yakovsky for Roost Autosport takes 8th by just 1 point over Patrick Ashcroft, the other rookie to finish in the top 10. And Grant Carson's ensures dual top 10 points finishes for Durban Sport Racing, despite losing out on the championship, so at least they have that to smile about. And that will bring a close to a FARC season that brought us some heart-stopping championship battles and plenty of heartbreak on the other end of those battles. But we're not yet done with racing for this year. Next time on FuelSpill TV will be the ASCC Championship Race at Daytona. 4 drivers have made it to the end of the playoffs, and the rules are simple. Finish ahead of your rivals, and you become champion. But they're going to have to fight at over 190 miles an hour, packed together with 29 other cars like sardines. ASCC at Daytona is always a fun show, and I do hope you'll join us. I'm Charlie the Intern. I will always be Charlie the Intern, and I'll see you next time here on FuelSpill TV.